House resumes and debate continues. But before I proceed, let me just, the Honorable Prime Minister called to be asked to be excused. To ask to be excused because he may not come back this afternoon because of the same flu. You know, so I just thought I would say that. I just remind the House that Honorable Senator George also wrote a letter in which he said most likely he might not attend, but I did not do it early because I'm not sure if he would have attended. So it would look like Honorable Oscar George also most likely will not attend Parliament. He was given leave of absence because he's ill, and the Prime Minister, so again, I like the respect that the Prime Minister is affording. He actually called me personally to indicate the situation. So I just want the House to be guided by that type of approach, you know, where we touch base, you know, and work as a team. Okay, let's proceed. House resumes, debate continues. Yes, we continue the debate, but the House continues. I think now we are supposed to be dealing with the overdraft. Yes.
Whereas, by virtue of Section 3.1 of the Loans Act, Chapter 6405 of the 1990 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the House of Assembly may, by resolution duly passed, authorized by the Minister responsible for finance, to borrow money from approved sources or guarantee loans to statutory boards or public corporations for the purpose of financing general development purposes or for other purposes. And whereas, in accordance with Section 36.1 of the Finance Administration Act, Chapter 6302 of 2017 of the revised laws of Dominica, the power conferred by the Loans Act to borrow money by means of advances from a bank may be exercised by means of a fluctuating overdraft. And whereas, for the fiscal year 2021-2022, the House of Assembly approved an amount of $61,500,000 to meet central government overdraft requirements and guarantee overdraft facilities for some statutory bodies and public corporations. Of this amount, $56,500,000 represents the overdraft limit assigned to central government. And whereas the lingering impact of the prolonged COVID-19 pandemic on economic activity is expected to affect government's revenue for a third consecutive year, that is for fiscal year 2022-2023. And whereas there is a high level of uncertainty with regards to the impact of the Ukraine-Russia war on the local economy and revenue performance, the price of oil on the global market has been highly volatile, thus resulting in the governments having to implement measures to cushion the impact on local residents. And whereas this increase in the overdraft limit will serve as a buffer and offer flexibility in meeting government's short-term needs in a timely manner. And whereas the government of Dominica's debt strategy allows for a mix of financing options to include loans, overdraft facilities, and securities geared at meeting its debt management objective, and which is to ensure that the government's financing needs and obligations are met on a timely basis in a way that minimizes cost over the medium to long term with a prudent level of risk. And whereas the government of Dominica has utilized a combination of overdrafts and treasury bills to supplement general revenues to finance its short-term requirements and continues to finance its capital projects through grants, concessional loans, and resources from the Citizenship by Investment Program. And whereas the government of Dominica continues to build fiscal resilience to these exogenous shocks and unanticipated shortfall in revenues, and the increased demand on the state to cover these unexpected events warrants the use of this facility. And whereas the government is also mindful of the ECCU target of having member countries meet the debt to GDP target of 60% by 2035. And whereas a sum not exceeding 103 million Eastern Caribbean dollars is required to meet central government's current overdraft requirements, and a sum not exceeding 5 million Eastern Caribbean dollars is required to meet guarantee of overdrafts to statutory boards and public corporations. Be it resolved that in accordance with Section 3.1 of the Loans Act, Chapter 6405 of the 2017 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica, this Honorable House authorizes the Minister for Finance to borrow and guarantee by means of fluctuating overdraft a sum not exceeding in the aggregate 108 Eastern Caribbean dollars from A, the First Caribbean International Bank, B, the National Bank of Dominica, and C, Republic Bank, and or any other approved financial institutions to meet central government's current overdraft requirements and to guarantee overdrafts to statutory and public corporations for a further period of 1 year commencing from the first day of July 2022. Second, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Section 3.1 of the Loans Act, Chapter 6405 of the 1990 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica authorizes the Minister with responsibility for finance to borrow money on behalf of government from approved sources and to guarantee loans to statutory boards or public corporations by resolution passed in this House of Assembly. Section 36.1 of the Finance Administration Act, Chapter 6302 of the 2017 revised laws of the Commonwealth of Dominica states that such borrowing may be exercised by means of a fluctuating overdraft. The Minister for Finance is therefore seeking the approval of this Honorable House for the use of an overdraft facility with the commercial banks in the Commonwealth of Dominica in the amount of $108 million. $103 million will be used to facilitate central government's operations during this fiscal year, and $5 million is required to guarantee overdraft facilities to statutory boards and public corporations. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Dominica's debt strategy provides for a mix of financing options to include loans, overdraft facilities, and securities geared toward meeting its debt management objective, which is to ensure that the government's financing needs and obligations are met on a timely basis in a way that minimizes cost over the medium to long term with a prudent level of risk. This applies to total public sector debt, which is made up of central government's debt plus guarantees given to public corporations, statutory bodies, and other state-owned enterprises in support of their borrowings. Over the past 10 years, government has been utilizing a combination of overdrafts and treasury bills to buffer temporary fiscal gaps, which may occur from time to time during the fiscal year as a result of delays in collection of tax revenues, unanticipated shortfall in tax revenues, or unforeseen increases in recurrent expenditure. While we continue to finance capital projects through grants, concessional loans, and resources from the Citizenship by Investment Program. Mr. Speaker, there is a high level of uncertainty with regards to the impact of the Ukraine-Russia war on the local economy and revenue performance. The price of oil on the global market has been highly volatile, thus resulting in the government having to implement measures, including subsidies, tax and licenses relief to cushion the impact on local residents. Mr. Speaker, though the government continues to build fiscal resilience to these exogenous shocks, the unanticipated shortfall in revenues, and the increased demand on the state to cover these unexpected events warrants the use of this facility. Mr. Speaker, this government will continue to exercise absolute fiscal prudence in the management of the country's resources and will pursue due diligence in ensuring that the country's financing needs are met without losing sight of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union's debt to GDP target of 60% by 2035. I commend this resolution to this honorable House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The motion is before the House for debate. Your mic. Go. Yes, Honorable Linton.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. This request by the government side of the House for the House to approve an increase in the overdraft limit in this current fiscal year from 56.5 million in the last fiscal year to 103 million this year bears very careful analysis and assessment. Mr. Speaker, before I get into detail, I've come to expect that every time I stand in this House, especially at budget time, to ask the government to pay attention to its numbers, to ask the government to take responsibility for the numbers that it puts before the Parliament in terms of projections, revenue projections, for example, and to make the numbers make sense, not just to me, but to the people of Dominica who you serve. The inevitable consequence of that is I get cursed out, I get maligned, I get called all sorts of names. Today was no exception. I was called out for, I was called out on lies that said I asked people for generator after Hurricane Maria. What did that have to do with the debate or the discussion or the closing of the debate? Absolutely nothing. But the Speaker's chair permitted it, as he's wont to do, because apparently the rules insofar as relevance is concerned, and the rules insofar as imputing improper motives, and the rules insofar as it concerns not using insulting or disrespectful language against members of the House applies only to us on this side. The members on the other side, I've come to accept and know that they can say what they want, they can do what they want. And I expect that when I make these few remarks this afternoon, people will jump up, and as usual, they will say what they want, and they will do what they want, irrespective of the rules, and the Speaker will have nothing to say about it. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a request.
Honorable Linton, again, you imputing improper motive on the chair. Because there are several instances where you are imputing improper motive on the chair. Because there were several instances from since last week in which I asked ministers of government to withdraw statements, and they did without hesitation. Every step of the way that I asked the members on the opposition side, and specifically some members, is serious hesitation. This morning, I asked the Honorable Reginald Austri to withdraw around about 2 or 3 times. He did it. No hesitation. You understand? Honorable Reginald Austri have his style. Sometimes it's stinging. But is his approach, it is the way he uses his words. I think you are being unfair to me. On your side, for example, I ask, and I allowed members on your side to have liberty. I pointed out, for example, there were instances of imputing improper motive, and I let it slide, even when a minister was standing up on a point of order. This is unfair, but I expect nothing less, so let's continue. Yeah, well, I could again, while the Honorable Lennox Linton was talking about relevance, I was asking myself. He was saying that members spoke and it was not relevant. But he, in his speech now, it was completely irrelevant to debate the overdraft. But I allowed it. No, Honorable AG, it's okay. Yeah, but I want to make that be clear. You cannot on one hand be saying something, you have to be consistent. In your deliberation, you are being irrelevant to the subject matter, but you bring me in it, and you think it is fair to me. But anyway, I expect that, so let's continue. Yes, yeah. Okay, thank you for saying you'll protect me on that side, yes.
I agree, Mr. Speaker, it's a big joke. It's a big joke. This business of relevance. We heard a presentation this morning on the question of relevance.
Member, proceed, please. I said you can proceed.
I was just saying this business of relevance. I heard you muttering under your breath, Mr. Speaker, that it's a joke. Yes, it's a big joke.
Again, you were not paying attention. The Honorable Austri said he would protect me. So that was it. I don't know why you insist in trying to bring me in the debate every step of the way. I'm just there to rule, and then when I rule, we need to respect this. And Honorable John, I'm not going to tolerate these things from you, you know. From you. And you say I call you honorable again. You need to act as an honorable member.
I am. You act as an honorable member.
Honorable John, I will not accept any more comments like that from you anymore. This is not only block, this is the Honorable House. So when the speaker is speaking, you are not supposed to be speaking. You didn't know that? You cannot tell the speaker what to do. Again, that is completely disrespectful. I would ask you, Honorable John, to apologize to the chair. And if you don't think you're going to leave the house without apologizing, we're going to take action on you today. I'm fed up with this nonsense. This has to stop, and I told you that in a bilateral. And you are doing it again, completely disrespectful. I also spoke, and I need to place it on the record. I spoke to the leader of the opposition about the behavior of Honorable Hector John. All members here saw what happened when the president was addressing the nation. Honorable Hector John had his back turned, complete disrespect, talking to other members there. I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm asking you to apologize to the chair. Honorable Hector John, the last time I'm asking you politely to apologize to the chair and for saying that the chair is mad. To ask you not to act a certain way. Yeah, you said that. You said crazy. Yes. Yeah, well, mad, crazy, anyone. So I'm asking you again to apologize. Members of the House seeing what's happening, you know. So I'm asking you to apologize. Yes.
But you know, I will not apologize for anything. I apologize and I move on.
Thank you. Honorable Linton, you could take the floor. Please proceed.
I sat in the House this morning, I heard a reference to one of the honorable members on this side of the House suggesting that there was some mental issue with that individual. I didn't hear any call for the Speaker for an apology or withdrawal of the statement. Anyway, Mr. Speaker, the overdraft request of this government is for an increase to $103 million, up from $56 million last year. I don't think the government has adequately explained why is that increase in overdraft necessary. And if we look at the performance of central government in terms of the current account balance, going back to the year ended June 30th, 2017,